Hey, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Indieauthor Jill. And today we are looking at Fragile Focus by Tammy Lockamy. I have it on my phone right now because I actually gave the physical copy to my friend and neighbor, and she's she wanted something else to read that was more her style. She's been buddy reading a lot of different books with some friends, and what they're picking out isn't exactly things that she would normally gravitate to, and she hasn't really been enjoying them that much. So, uh, reading this one, it was something that I thought she would enjoy, and I haven't heard her complain about it yet. So, I guess she's enjoying it. I'll let you know later when I find out about that. But for me, did I enjoy the book? Yes. However, I was really annoyed by the main character. Like, she goes to Japan, and like on the back of the book, it tells you this so that she goes to Japan and she gets called on an assignment and does her job and everything. But she starts, um, when she comes home, she starts feeling ill, and that's kind of a misdirect because, as she points out in the book, she's actually been feeling ill before she went to Japan. It's just worse since she's gone to Japan. And when she gets to Japan, there is a holy woman that wants to meet her and calls her in for a meeting. And when she calls her in, she basically tells her that there is something growing inside of her. There's something wrong with her. She's sick and she needs to figure out what it is. And she tells her, sorry, there's a huge glare on my terrible glare on my glasses. But anyway, the holy woman tells her that she needs to look within while she still can, and uh, you know, search inside of herself. There's even a point where she's talking to the woman and or she's talking to another character in Japan while she's still in Japan, and they're talking about the importance of mirrors in Japanese culture, and they how they feel that uh your mirrored reflection, um you can find answers in the mirrored reflection, and that your reflection knows more than you or can give you answers. And she even talks about how she believes that, she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because even in my culture, the we believe that we say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. So why not look in the mirror? Because if you look in the mirror, then you're looking into your own eyes, and then you look into your soul and whatnot. And so, like, she already has like this basic grasp on what they're trying to tell her, but then she goes home and she's a little bit more sicker. And like when she was in Japan, and as long as she was around, like she was around wooded areas and she was around nature, she was for the most part fine. As soon as she goes back to the city and goes into a pub in Japan and starts getting around the city life, um, she starts getting sick, and then the next thing she knows, she's spending the last couple of days in Japan in bed, and then she goes home and she's worse off, and so she goes to a Western doctor, and and then her, even when she's at a family get together, her grandfather wisely tells her, don't go to a Western doctor, go to an Asian doctor. They're a little bit more, they have a more um firmer grasp on, the spiritual world and whatnot. Don't go to the medical doctor, the Western doctors. And so she goes to an Asian doctor, but then she also, what she calls her holistic doctor, and then she also goes to a Western doctor, and neither one of them can really figure out what's wrong with her. And one of the Asian doctor tells her that the holistic doctor tells her that it sounds like Lyme disease, that she must have gotten bitten by a deer tick in Japan while she was wandering around. And so he gives her some tablets, and then runs some tests and tells her he'll know the results from the tests at a later date. In the meantime, she gets called into the office to her boss's office because she's a photographer and she works for a magazine, and the bosses are like, "Hey, you did such a great job with the Japanese assignment. Now we want to send you to Nepal." And so she goes to Nepal and she meets another holy man, and he tells her, "Hey, you're sick. You need to look within yourself and figure out what's wrong with you." And like he explains it kind of like the same way the Japanese did, is that the Japanese holy woman did, that you are sick with something inside of you that is not a medical condition. It's something, you know, you're dealing with. And so he offers to do this like healing process, and when she goes through the healing process, she starts feeling dizzy and she starts feeling all kinds of adverse effects. But he when she wakes up, she's not quite like she's not steady on her feet and whatnot. But the wise man, the holy man, tells her that he knows about this red circle. She saw this red circle in her vision, and he tells her he knows about the red circle that she saw, and that it represents that she was willing to open up her mind, and a willingness to open up to um natural healing, and uh that she needs to work on opening all of her chakras, and basically the overarching, like the thing that keeps coming up in common is she gets to know these people, and they're in somewhat primitive establishments. Even the Japanese family, they're in a fairly big house, and they seem to be wealthy, but even with all of their wealth, they're laying on mats on the floor, and there's not a lot of furnishings in their home, and things are kept fairly clean and simple. When she goes to Nepal, she's talking with these villagers, and there's a woman using a sickle to chop vegetables because that's like all she has. She doesn't have a proper knife. Another one is washing laundry and beating, against rocks, and she seems absolutely delighted to be able to do that. Another woman is feeding a fire, like she constantly has to feed this fire with small twigs to keep the fire going. Otherwise, she won't be able to feed her family, cook meals for her family. And these people have so very little. And she is sympathizing for them. And she's like, "Oh, these poor people, they don't have much of anything. And these kids, they're over here, they're not even, what are they laughing about? They seem so happy, and there's nothing for them to like play with or entertain themselves with." And someone even points out to her that they don't need anything to entertain themselves and play with, because they don't have the advertisements on TV like what we have here in the Western world. They are not inundated with the latest in cell phone technology and Nerf gun technologies and all these, the latest toy that everybody has to have. They're perfectly content having a stick and a rock and an imagination. And like, they're not wrong. Like, being a 90s kid myself, that's pretty much all my brothers and I needed was we didn't even really use the rocks. We didn't have to play with the rocks because we had this walnut tree in our backyard, and we would just pelt each other with the big green husks. We'd pick up the walnuts still in the big green husk and toss them at each other, or use them as baseballs. And like they were terrible baseballs, obviously, because as soon as you hit them with a stick, they busted open and they went like three different directions. But we had a blast. We were just fine with destroying walnut husks. And when we realized, we weren't really sure why our parents kept calling them walnuts, because they're like, these aren't walnuts. I don't know what they are, but they're weird little green smelly things. And then when we realized, oh, there's a walnut inside, that made them even more entertaining, because then we used them to feed the squirrels, and the squirrels absolutely loved it. Um, but you know, these kids, they don't even have the walnuts. They're just running around chasing each other. And then when she pulls out, one of her cats had dropped a ball into her bag before she left, so she pulled it out and gave it to the kids, and they're just delighted to just toss this back and forth and play catch with each other. And she's like, "Oh, these poor children." And the guy's like, "Don't feel sorry for them. Feel sorry for the kids in your world. They're constantly wanting the next new toy and everything. They're never satisfied with anything. These kids got a bright green ball and they're delighted, you know? Like, the kids in your world will never know that kind of joy, you know?" And so she everywhere she goes, she sees these primitive living situations where people are living simply but they're happy. And she just can't imagine, it just boggles her mind that these people could possibly be happy when they don't have thrift shops and uh super soakers and whatever. And she gets these holy everywhere she goes. She's like I said, she goes to Japan, there's a holy woman there. She goes to um Nepal, there's a holy man there. She goes to New Zealand, there's another holy person. And they're all keep telling her the same thing. You need to, do some self healing. And like the healing, and they even tell her, like, even in Nepal, they tell her, don't go to the Western doctors, avoid the Western doctors. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're not going to be able to heal you because they're going to be looking for something that's not there to figure out. And even when she gets back home, when the test comes in, they're like, "Oh no, you actually don't have Lyme disease. We still have no idea what's wrong with you." And like they keep telling her, like, reconnect with nature, and it never dawns on her. Like every time when she's in Japan, they tell her about some uh animals there, and some of them that are endangered, and some of them that are extinct and everything. And she's like, I want to take part. I want to do something to help raise awareness for these animals so that they're not going to go extinct, whatnot. And she starts feeling better and she's connected with nature. And then as soon as she's removed from the nature and put back into a big city, suddenly she starts feeling ill. Then she goes back home and it's even worse. And she goes home for an extended period. She just goes home because there's like a, I don't know, a celebration or a family get together or something, but her parents expect her to be there and she's like, "Yeah, I'll go." And then it turns into the, like, she was expecting it to just be her grandparents and her siblings, her brothers. And it turns into her parents and her siblings and her grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and some that she's only sees at family get-togethers or funerals or weddings or whatever. And um she feels okay because they're at the ranch. They're in nature. As soon as she goes back to the city, she starts feeling a little bit ill again. Then they send her to Nepal and she's feeling a little, But as soon as they get her into nature and like she's seeing snow leopards and she's breathing fresh air and everything, and the wise man says, "Hey, you're sick. You need to get in touch with nature." And they're telling her about these endangered species. And she's like, "We've got to raise awareness so that these endangered species don't go extinct and everything." And she starts feeling better. As soon as she gets back into the big city and she gets into a nightclub, all of a sudden she's down for the count. And this time she's down for 6 months when she gets back home. And, every single time she gets into the nature and she feels a connection, like she wants to do something to help preserve the nature, she's like, "Yes, let me get involved in this." And she's like, starts feeling better. And she's like, "Oh, it must be the fresh air or the pills the doctor has given me is finally working." And it never occurs to her that, hey, you're reconnecting with something that's important, that's more than just the, material world. But then she says, like, "Oh, well, back home, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna hit the thrift store. I'm gonna go on a shopping trip." And she starts feeling bad again. And like, I get I get it because like you want your characters to be realistic. You want them to be relatable. And how many times have you seen like real people that are told constantly what they need to do and they're like, "Yeah, but what if I didn't?" And then they start feeling bad or something goes wrong and they're like, "I don't understand what went wrong. It's not like I ignored everything that was being told to me." It's like I started going to a gym, okay? I even signed up for a personal trainer. I walk in and the personal trainer basically says, "Hey, you're fat." And I was like, "Thanks, astute observation. I'm not paying you to tell me what I already know. I'm paying you to help me figure out a plan to fix it." And she's like, "Okay, do some squats, eat a salad. Let's start there." And I'm like, "Okay, how about if I just squat down on this stool and eat a pizza? I can't then be like, I don't understand why I'm still fat. Maybe because I sat down and ate a pizza instead of did a squat." And like, "Riona, do a squat." Like, you're being told what to do. And she's like, "They're so cryptic in what they're telling me to do." How is getting in touch with nature cryptic? Go touch some grass. And like, I want, like, like I said, I understand the desire to make your characters relatable, but it, you don't want them to be too realistic, because realistic people are irritating. They're annoying. Nobody wants real people. Real people suck, you know? So, like, but, like, if your main character is this stupid, like, you're sitting there as the reader and you're like, I want to root for you. You want me to root for you. But it's kind of hard when you're constantly ignoring everything people are telling you. That being said, yes, Riona irritated the crap out of me. Not only was she dense in what everybody was telling her, but she was completely blinded by the fact that her best friend didn't want to just stay a best friend. Like, shocker, your guy best friend doesn't want to stay friends with you. He wants to be more. Maybe do something about that. You know? Um but as much as Riona irritated me, I did enjoy the book. That's the crazy part. Uh which is why I'm doing the review, obviously. I enjoyed the book, which is why I'm doing the review. Um, I didn't enjoy Riona. Riona is annoying. But I what I enjoyed about it is she's going to all these different cultures, Japan and Nepal and New Zealand and whatnot, and she's learning about their cultures, she's learning about their religions, she's learning about um how they live their lives, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching her explore these new places and seeing what fascinated her and seeing what caught her attention. Honestly, the most relatable moment in the entire book for me was her first night at the Japanese host home. She's having dinner. Everybody's sitting around this table. They're enjoying their meal. They're talking. They're having a good time. And she catches a movement out of the corner of her eyes and realizes, oh, this family has a cat. And customs be darned, she just gets up in the middle of dinner. She hasn't finished her dinner. She hasn't finished this conversation. She's just like, she looks around, she sees a cat, and she just immediately, without any announcement or excuse me or whatever, she just gets up and goes to the cat. And the cat is just like, yeah, I am here to be admired, obviously. And so she pets the cat, and then she picks the cat up, and everybody is like, and then she realizes, oh, everybody was paying attention to you. Of course, everybody was watching you. You got up from the table and went and pet the cat, which honestly, fair. I would do the same. I would absolutely leave the table in a heartbeat to go and pet a cat. But the cat really seemed to like her. Like, he was all purry and everything, and when she went to bed, he wanted to go in and snuggle with her. Um so like I said, that was actually my favorite part of the book, is when she just got up from the dinner table and went to snuggle a cat. Like, fair. honestly. Um, I feel like I obviously I've ranted a bit. I had a lot to say about this. Uh, but yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed seeing the different locales. Um, the main character is annoying, and that's okay. It's not the first time a character has been annoying and the book has still been enjoyable. Um, and this is actually book 5 of uh this family, and I believe I said in when I did the unboxed when I did the TBR pool, I believe I said that this was supposed to be, there was like a book that the author had written about a kid that went missing named Annie. I was wrong about that. It was Mary. There's the first book she wrote was Where Are You, Mary? And it's about a 5-year-old little girl named Mary that goes missing. Riona is her niece or her great niece. I'm not sure. I can't remember which. Um, but yeah, this is book 5. It is a standalone. I will say that. Um, and I do like that in a series, that where you can read a series and it's still a standalone. It still kind of does its own thing. It's a lot like the Sarah Madeline books that I've gotten into. The very first one, A Foul Match, starts off the series, and then the next one is A Merry Pair, and the third one I believe is A Handy Duo. That one's not out yet, but it's coming. Uh, it's in the arc stages now, but each book, even though they are all um part of the same series, they're all standalones. You can read, if the first one you read is A Handy Duo, then you're fine, but you know, you just have to understand that maybe one or two of the characters that get mentioned are already married. Uh which, I mean, the first two books cover those relationships, so you already, if you as you're reading it and you know who the books are about, like it doesn't really um it's not a really a will they won't they obviously will, because it's a romance, it's a cozy romance. um so they always end up getting together, but um so like, if you read A Handy Duo and see that the first two couples got together, not that big of a surprise because you figure they're going to. But reading their stories tells you how they got together, and how that came to be, and the kind of the journey they went on. um but uh I I will say this, I was annoyed by Riona, but I was intrigued enough about her family that I kind of want to go and read the other 5 books in this series. um So I will link a description. I will put a link in the description box below for Fragile Focus, and maybe I'll do a link for the other 5 books too if you want to read them in order and you just want to be able to find them. But honestly, if I even if I just did Fragile Focus, the little tagline does say it's book 5 of 5, and I believe this is the next generation of Mary's family. I think that Where Are You, Mary ended up being the first of, what'd she say, 13 or 15 books, and then it went into this generation or something. I'm not sure exactly how the genealogy went, but definitely a family that I would not mind spending more time with. They're certainly an interesting bunch. So, um, especially if they get to spend more time with Granddad. Granddad was absolute a delight. Um, so that's all I've got for you right now. Yeah, this one was a bit rantier than usual, and I regret nothing. See ya.